welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name's Emma, and if you're not new here, it's time for another TBR jar picks my next reads video. Today we'll be having my trusty TBR jar, or bag I should say, choose the books I'm going to be reading in September. Now if this is your first time watching one of my TBR videos, the way this works is I will draw prompts out of this bag, and once they're all drawn, I will have to find books that fit the prompts that I draw. I am happy to announce that I am officially out of my reading slump. If you guys have been watching for the past couple months, I've been in and out of a reading slump, but thankfully I am finally fully out of it. But that being said, I am still very much in a reading mood, so I haven't been very good at sticking to my TBR lately. So I guess that's kind of just my disclaimer to say that just because I picked these books to go on the September TBR does not guarantee that I will get around to them in the month of September. But I guess you guys will have to stick around and watch my September reading wrap up to see if I actually get to all these books. I think I'm gonna go back to drawing 8 prompts. It's been a while since I've done 8, but I think I'm finally ready to have a larger TBR. For our first prompt, we have a book with a title that begins with J. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but hopefully there's something somewhere on all my shelves that will fit this. For prompt number 2, we have a book with a color in the title. This one's really fun. Hopefully I have something that fits this. Prompt number 3, I'm gonna go to the bottom of the bag for this one. We have an urban fantasy. I'm trying to think if I have any of those right now. I feel like I've read all of my urban fantasies, but this may call for me to have to read the back of some books to figure out which, if any, are urban fantasies. Prompt number 4, a book that's been on my monthly TBR at least twice. Well, I have a lot of these because, like I said, I haven't been doing very good at sticking to my TBR, so this should be an easy one to find a book for. 4 more prompts to go. For prompt number 5, we have a book that has an animal companion. Now, I'm assuming this means like the main character has an animal companion, so I feel like this is gonna have to be a fantasy series, and this is another one where I might have to do a little bit of research and read the synopsis on the back of some books to figure out which ones would have this. Prompt number 6. This one is just a thriller. I'm really glad I got this because I was thinking about it the other day, and I don't really know the last time I picked up a thriller and read it, and now that fall is approaching, I feel like that's the perfect time to read mysteries and thrillers, and I have a lot that I'm really excited to get to. Prompt number 7 is a nonfiction book. If you guys know me, you know that I am an avid disliker of nonfiction. I wouldn't say I'm totally against it because I do enjoy a memoir from time to time, and there are some other nonfictions I have liked. It's just not normally a genre that I gravitate towards. But that being said, I know I have some nonfiction books that I need to get to, so this is like a challenge prompt that will push me to pick up a book I probably wouldn't normally want to read. And for our very last prompt, we have a book with a number in the title. Again, not sure if I have anything. I feel like several of these prompts, I don't really know that I have anything that fits. So if that is the case and I can't find one, I will redraw and then put the prompt back so that hopefully I can get it at a later time when I do have something that works. The one I'm gonna start with is a thriller, just because this is probably the most basic prompt I pulled, and I know I have some thrillers that I'm really excited about. Also, sorry if I'm kind of talking weird. I got a lip flip recently and I feel like it's making me talk funny. So if you notice that I'm talking funny, just ignore it, please. Like, I've had lip flips done before and it's never affected me like this, but I've been having trouble like taking big gulps of water or like spitting out my toothpaste. Sorry, that's TMI, but it's like just now kicking in and I feel like I'm talking funny. So again, just ignore. Let's go find a thriller. Okay, so while I had a lot of good options, I just pulled the 2 thrillers that are piquing my interest the most when I look at my shelves, and those are No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. This is actually a book I selected from Book of the Month a while back and just never got around to reading. I actually have heard basically nothing about this book, but I don't know, it was kind of just jumping off the shelf at me and seems intriguing. I actually really don't know what this is about. It says 3 sisters, 2 murders, and too many secrets to count. Oh, and as I'm reading the description, the main character's name is Emma, which is really cool because that's my name. So this one's definitely an option. And then the other option is one that I'm not gonna say the title of out loud, but we'll just call it the Mind F series because I don't want to say this title out loud on the internet. And this is by St. Abby. It's actually 5 books in one, and I have heard nothing but great things about this book. People all over the internet rave about how addicting this is and how hooked you get into the story. And I'm not totally sure that you can fully classify it as a thriller because I want to say it's like romance, but the back does say romance with a stabby twist. And I definitely think it has thriller elements. I've been wanting to get around to this for a really long time, but I was wanting to wait till the fall time to read it, so this would be the perfect month to start it. I do know that this is about a romance between a serial killer and an FBI agent, and the FBI agent is put on the serial killer's case, who just so happens to be his girlfriend, but he doesn't know that it's his girlfriend. This seems like a quick, easy, fun thriller, and the main character's name is Emma, so of course that intrigues me. But at the same time, I've been wanting to get to this for so long and just waiting for the perfect time of year. I think I'm gonna have to go with the Mind F series just because this has been on my radar longer, and the only reason I haven't picked it up before now is because I wanted to read it in the fall time. The next prompt I'm gonna choose is another pretty simple prompt, and that is the nonfiction book. And there's one that my mind automatically went to, and that is In Search of You by Casey Compton. This has actually been on my TBR before, so it could have worked for the prompt of a book that's been on your TBR before, but out of the nonfictions I need to read, this is the one that I'm actually excited about getting to. My understanding of this book is that it's kind of just a women's self-help inspirational nonfiction book, and the thing that makes me the most excited about it is that Casey Compton is a Kentucky author, and one of my goals has been to find and read more Kentucky authors because I am from Kentucky. So I'm actually really excited about this one, and I'm excited to get a little bit out of my comfort zone with a nonfiction read, and this will be fun to throw in the mix amongst the other books I'll be reading in September. The next prompt I'm going to tackle is a book with a number in the title, and I've gone ahead and drawn all the books I own that have a number in the title so we can choose between literally all of the options I have. And those options are 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. This is the same author who wrote The Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which is one of my favorite YA mysteries. And this is also a YA mystery, but it's just a standalone. We also have 5 Broken Blades by Mai Corland. I actually got sent this as an art copy and planned on reading it the month I got it because it really intrigued me. But since then, I've lost interest in it. That's not to say I don't want to read it. It just hasn't really been on the forefront of my mind, and I've heard mixed reviews about whether or not this was good. I think this is a YA fantasy. I don't believe there's any romance, but I know it's told from 5 different perspectives, which I think is really interesting. This one might not count, but I feel like it can kind of count for this prompt, and that's Stealing Infinity by Alison Noel. I feel like it fits because while infinity technically is not a number because you can't count it, it's associated with math and numbers. And this has been on my shelves forever. This was one of the first ever books I got sent in PR by a publishing company and author. And I believe this is like a YA sci-fi fantasy. I could be totally off the mark there, but I'm pretty sure it has to do with time travel and maybe a magical school. This one also sounds really interesting to me, and I don't know why I've never gravitated towards it. I also have the second one in this duology, I believe. And then the last option I have is One Moment by Becky Hunter. This is another one I got sent in PR. I believe this is just like a general fiction, and I don't know what it's about, but Mia Sheridan has a blurb on the front that says, "Tender, poignant, and simply wonderful. This story filled my heart." I do believe this book deals with grief, and I don't know that I'm really in the mood for a sad book just at the current moment. Who knows, maybe later in the month I will be looking for a tearjerker, but I'm gonna go ahead and knock this one out of the running because just at this specific moment in time, I am not in the mood to read a book that's gonna make me cry. But I really do wanna get to this one at some point soon because it sounds amazing, just not for the month of September. Fantasy is my genre of choice, and I am super intrigued to get to both of these, but I think just because I'm kind of in the mood for mysteries and thrillers, I am gonna put 5 Survive on the TBR for September. This is actually a book that was highly anticipated for me, but for some reason when it came out, I just didn't pick it up. So I think September is the month that I finally get around to reading it. Sorry if you guys can hear my washer going crazy in the background. It's in a totally different room from where we are, but I swear every time the washer and dryer are going, it shakes the whole apartment and it sounds like we're gonna come crumbling down. Hang on a second, I'll see if I can get it to stop. Okay, I think the washer finally decided to calm down and be silent so I can finish filming this video. And I think I'm gonna go for the prompt that says a color in the title. And surprisingly, I only had one book that fits this prompt. This was literally the only one. Like, I didn't even have others that would be a little bit of a stretch to fit this prompt. There goes the washer again. The only book I own that fits this prompt is Indigo Ridge by Devney Perry, and I'm very thankful that this is the one because it forces me to read this, and this has been a book that's been on my TBR multiple times. I've started it multiple times and always soft DNF'd it, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but just because I wasn't in the mood for it at the moment I was reading it. But I hear nothing but amazing things about this series, and I really think I would love it. Everything on the back describes exactly what I love in a contemporary romance. So I'm glad that this is gonna be our book for the color in the title because I will finally get around to finishing it. This is an adult contemporary romance. It's small town, and I believe it may be Grumpy Sunshine, and I think it also might have some thriller mystery elements to it. All of those sound like the perfect recipe for a fall romance. I swear to God, that washer. It's like it's doing it on purpose. It's like it knew I was trying to film a video and wants to be loud. There's literally no getting the washer to be quiet, so I'm just gonna continue, and I'm gonna have to really raise my voice, and hopefully you guys aren't even hearing it and it's just me, but I have a feeling you can probably hear it in the background, so just ignore how annoying that is. The next prompt I was going to do is a book with a title that starts with J, and I have scoured all of my shelves and surprisingly have no books that start with J. I don't even have any books that are like the and then the second word starts with J. The closest I can come to finding something that fits this is like an author's first or last name starts with J, but I feel like that's cheating, and maybe at some point in the future I will have a book that the title starts with J, so I'm gonna put this one back, but before I do, I'm gonna draw for another prompt to take its place. The prompt taking its place is and enemies to lovers, my absolute favorite trope in the whole world. I know we can find something good to fit this. The next one I'm gonna look for is a book that's been on my TBR at least twice because like I said, I do have a lot of these, and I'm gonna pull maybe all my options or maybe just the ones that are jumping out at me the most, and hopefully we'll find something good. Okay, I lied. I'm not even gonna draw options to choose between because as soon as I saw this one on my shelf, I knew this is what I wanted to choose, and that is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the same author that wrote the Inheritance Games, which I absolutely loved, and I often hear people say that this is even better. The first book has been on my TBR multiple times, and it's never been that I didn't want to pick it up, more of just like I didn't get around to it in the month it was on my TBR, so hopefully September is the month that I do get around to it. This is a YA mystery about teenagers who are like prodigies at different things, and they're asked to come help, I think it's the FBI or maybe the CIA. I can't remember, but basically they're like gifted with lying, reading people, like different things like that that would help an investigation. And I've heard these are just very quick, fast-paced reads, easy to fly through, and I'm so excited to finally read this and see what all the hype is about. Let's start with the urban fantasy because I feel like this one might take some digging. And once again, I think we have a prompt that I do not have any books that fit it, which is really sad because I love an urban fantasy and maybe I'm just not looking hard enough, but I've read the back of basically all my fantasy books I haven't read yet, and they all seem very much high fantasy. None of them are giving off urban vibes. Actually, I just remembered one that would definitely count, but I don't want to read it. Jade City is definitely an urban fantasy, but I'm so intimidated by this book. I don't know much about this series. I know it's about kind of like mafia families, maybe, but it's fantasy. The back says, stylish and action-packed, full of ambitious families and guilt-ridden loves. Jade City is an epic drama reminiscent of the best classic Hong Kong gangster films, but takes place in a fantasy metropolis so gritty and well-imagined that you'll forget you're reading a book. That makes me really want to read it, but first of all, look how long it is. Second of all, everyone I've seen read this says it's really good, but also says it's very complicated and layered and complex and takes a lot of brain power. And where I just got out of a reading slump, I don't know that this is something I want to put myself through at the current moment. I'd rather read this at a time where I can be fully invested in it and be prepared for my brain to handle all of that. So I think I'm not gonna choose this one. I'm just going to put the urban fantasy prompt back and choose a different one because I do really want to read this. I just don't think now is the right time for me or my brain or the mood I'm in for reading. And I don't want to do this book or this series an injustice and dislike it simply because my brain can't handle it. I'd rather wait till a time where I'm fully prepared and in the mood to read this type of fantasy. But if you've read this book, please comment below and encourage me to read it. Tell me if you loved it or not because I feel like I need some motivation to pick it up. I feel similar to this series as I did to Red Rising, which was basically just that I was scared of it because I was worried I wouldn't understand it. I ended up loving Red Rising, but it definitely did take a lot of brain power to get through it, and I just don't think I'm prepared for another series like that just yet. So I am gonna draw another prompt instead. Sorry for the potential camera angle change. My camera just cut off and I don't know if it's in the exact same place, but the prompt I redrew to replace the urban fantasy is a book set in America, which I think should be really easy to find because definitely most of my romances are set in America. I would say probably a lot of the mysteries or thrillers are set in America. Obviously, the only ones that might not be would be fantasies because they're set in fantastical worlds, and I'll put urban fantasy back. But while we're at it, I am gonna go ahead and pull books I have that are set in America and we'll find which one I'm choosing. Honestly, I just drew the two that caught my eye the quickest, and that is Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This I bought last spring, I think, but I've been hearing about this book and this series forever. I've heard a lot of people say if you like The Boys of Tommen and Magnolia Parks, then you'd love this, and I love both those series, so I feel pretty good about this one. I just haven't jumped into it yet. Also, my fiance's sister has been begging me to get into this series, so I feel like this would be a really good option. And then my other option is Life's Too Short by Abby Jimenez. I think this is the only or one of the only Abby Jimenez books I have not read yet. Abby Jimenez is an auto-buy author for me. I absolutely love and adore all of her books. I read her most recent release not too long ago and gave it 5 stars, so I also have a really good feeling about this, but since my fiance's sister wants me to read Addicted to You, I think the only right thing to do is to put this on my TBR for September, and hopefully I'll get around to it. For the enemies to lovers prompt, I was considering pulling a lot of different options, but there's one book that I keep seeing on the internet and hearing it be marketed as an enemies to lovers, and I feel like it would be perfect for this prompt. I've been wanting to get around to it, but I just haven't really had a reason to, so maybe if I stick it on my TBR, I'll finally get around to reading it, and I just want to be in the know of what all the hype's about because I have yet to see a person read this and say they disliked it, and that is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. I think this is either a YA or a new adult fantasy romance, and it is enemies to lovers. I know it's between a witch and a witch hunter, and I've heard that they're both kind of onto each other. The witch knows he's hunting her and he suspects she's a witch or something like that, and that they're both kind of playing games with each other. So sounds like there would be some really good banter. And like I said, enemies to lovers is one of my all-time favorite tropes, and I'm very excited to get to this one. I do have a lot of other great enemies to lovers books that I could have chosen, but this one I've just been hearing so much hype about, and I don't like feeling left out. So I think it's time for me to finally read this and join in on all the excitement surrounding this book. And then for our very last book, we have a book with an animal companion. It was actually a lot more difficult to find fantasy books with animal companions than I thought it would be. I guess the backs of those books probably wouldn't necessarily give away if they have animal companions, but I was thinking maybe at least one of them might have dragons or something like that that could count. But from what I can tell, without digging too far into the plots, because I don't want to spoil myself, I can't find any fantasies with animal companions. I'm sure I have some that have animal companions, but I don't want to look anything up and risk spoiling myself, so I'm just gonna go based on the backs of the books, and if that is the case, then I cannot find any. But Abby Jimenez always has animal companions in her romance books, and I do have 2. I think earlier I said I thought I only had 1 left to read by her, but I do have 2. Life's Too Short and The Friend Zone. And without even reading the backs of the books, I know these books have animal companions because Life's Too Short has a little puppy hanging in the O of the title right there. And then The Friend Zone has a little dog barking on the back. Now I know these are involved in an interconnected standalone series with the Happy Ever After playlist, which I accidentally read that one first. And I think one of these I was supposed to read before that one, and then one of these is the third one. So I'm gonna try to figure out really quick which one of these technically comes first. Okay, that took me way longer than it should have to figure out, and I was pretty sure the friend zone was first, but I just checked the original publication dates, and this one's 2019, this is 2021, so that means that the friend zone is technically the one I'm supposed to read first, so I'll be adding that to my TBR for the month of September as a book with an animal companion. This little dog on the back is so cute. I don't know if you guys can see it on this camera angle, but that's one of my favorite things about Abby Jimenez books, is that not only does she always include dogs and pets in the story, but they're always a significant part of the story, which just makes it so fun, especially if you're a dog or animal lover like me. We officially have all 8 books that I'm going to be attempting to read in the month of September, so to quickly recap them for you, we have Indigo Ridge by Debney Perry, a small town contemporary adult romance. The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez, another adult contemporary romance. Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. This is either YA or new adult fantasy romance, Witch and Witch Hunter. And Enemies to Lovers. Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is an adult romance, but I think it's kind of like drama, general fiction a little bit too. The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is a YA mystery. Five Survive by Holly Jackson. This is also a YA mystery. In Search of You by Casey Compton, a nonfiction women's inspiring self-help book by a Kentucky author. And the Mind F series, which is like a thriller romance, definitely adult. And hopefully I get to this one because technically it's 5 books in one, and that's 5 books I can check off on Goodreads. With that being said, I do have my Goodreads, Instagram, and TikTok linked in the description below if you'd be interested in following me over there and checking out all of my other content. I'm really excited for the lineup we have. Like I said, I probably won't get to all of these, but keeping my fingers crossed that maybe I will. If you've read any of these books, let me know in the comments what you thought of them, and also let me know what you want to see me read next. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you like this video, and you can go ahead and check out all the other videos currently on my page, and stay tuned for new ones coming soon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and that's all for now. Bye guys!